Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. My name is DJ. We've got another golf spotlight episode for you today. We've done a couple of these in the past. We did one with Neil, we did one with Tron, we did one with Ben Hameen. Today, we are going to be talking to my friend, Chris Soly Sollenberger. Soly, how are you, my man? I'm excited to talk about golf.
It's amazing how much more appreciation I have for a day where the sun is out. I have no one vomiting in my house right
Mm,
now, including myself.
mhm.
Like we're in full health. It's been like one of 14 days, and I'm like, we're good. Like we got this. We're doing really, really, really good.
You're kind of in that situation where you're, like a quarterback checking down to just like his 26th receiver. And once we get all the way down, it's like, oh, maybe we go play some golf today.
I might
You
I
know?
might be able to throw it 70 yards now down the field in double coverage.
Love it. Well, I'm excited to get into this. I feel like a lot of questions on my list here that I do not know the answer to, which is both rare for somebody that I've known for a very long time, and also very exciting because I can't wait to get into it. But we always kind of start. Let's level set for the people. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with your game through YouTube, or you frequently taking to social media to post about your golf game. But just give the people a level set. What's your handicap? And I want to know what's your ball speed? What kind of horsepower are you working with these days?
So my handicap right now is 0.6. This is usually the part where I just fill in a bunch of excuses on that. That feels about right. Feels about
Yeah.
right now. We're not getting out on the golf. I'm glad I've played enough golf this year to throw, to get rid of some scores, right? I had a 66 from last June that just hovered for way, 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 way too long. And we
Where was
finally
that?
got
Was that
rid
at
of it.
Tim Quanah?
That was at Yeaman's Hall.
Oh, that's right.
That
Soft
was
summer Yemen's Hall.
Soft Yemen's, yeah, summary round of golf at Yemen's. It was, I like because it could have been a lot lower, missed a lot of putts that day, but no, it
I haven't played golf in like 5 months, by the way, and I'm just throwing shots at you. Yeah, that's not a real 66. Like,
for
that's not,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
That's an
Sounded
interesting
like
space I'm occupying myself here.
sounded like when Neil calls me for the mega bonus call from the 13th hole. I'm like, what's the course rating out there even right now?
That
But
doesn't count.
so the game is not that and I'm like, honestly, I'm glad to be through the Gasparilla and the Creator Classic and truly free of the burden of needing to have my game in shape. As has been well documented, I'm at a phase of my life where my golf scores just cannot be a priority. It cannot. I have enough things stressing me out, and it does stress me out trying to like play a little bit of competitive golf or be somewhat of a good player when I've got other priorities going on in life. It's really hard to balance those things. And like I'm free of that burden right now, and it honestly feels really good. Not feeling like I need to reprioritize things to be like, honey, I know I got to dump two kids on you right now, but I have to go
Sure.
hit balls. Like, no, it's just
The
not.
stakes are simply too high.
It's so high. I've got to play Gabby Golf Girl. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
exactly. Exactly. There's
Um,
no coming back from taking an L there. Ball speed, we mentioned. I feel like this is a good chance to, I wanna get your answer, but probably a good chance to talk about the stack as well.
of course, I'm probably around like 168 range speed right now. Haven't
Cruising
taken
speed.
Yeah, haven't taken the quad out in quite some time because I'm just not. I haven't even been stacking, which is kind of a surprise, I would think. I guess for the last 5 months, for how hard I was actually doing this thing. Of course, you've heard us talk a lot about this program. You can go to thestacksystem.com/NLU to find out a whole lot more of it. You can use code NLU as well to get 10% off the stack bundle. But I started doing this last summer when the wife was hitting bed rest with her maternity leave. I was going to be home for 6 straight months, and I just kind of needed something to do. And I've did something very disciplined for maybe one of the first times in my adult life of like I worked out every 3 days in my backyard, sweated my ass off throughout the summer, but had so much fun just taking this stupid stick outside and swinging it as hard as I could, once every 3 days. And the returns were incredible. I mean, I cheated. You're not really supposed to like, they don't ask you in the program to like grab a driver and like see what your swing speed is, but I cheated one day and just
There's
grabbed
a
my
lot
driver.
there's a lot of, like, "There's no way I'm actually swinging as fast as they say." Like, let me validate
Totally.
this with an actual driver. Like, I know that feeling that you're talking about, and then you see it, you're like, "Whoa, I
I
actually
I
am. How about
I
that?"
filmed it because even I wanted to be able to like I didn't believe it, but I grabbed a driver and swung at 127 miles an hour in my backyard. And that was not even like the peak of the program, I don't think for me. But if you stick to what they ask you to do, the returns are simply incredible. And it was honestly like a light bulb moment for me of I did struggle a little bit with, like, now that I have this superpower, let's go out on the golf course and swing hard, and it took me some time to realize, no, the whole point is, like, now you wanna sit at what you used to max out at and, like, hit it in the fair like, hit it straight and on the planet, and
Raising the floor, ceiling is the roof.
yeah. Once I started to realize that, my golf game was just, like, salvageable, without being able to practice much, right? Like, that was kind of the whole big takeaway. It was, like, the most efficient way to get better at golf, I think, right now, is to use this system. And if I may say, for parents at home, they also have a stacked baseball, program. Like, I don't need baseball swing speed, but if you have young kids that are in baseball, check this out. Honestly, I feel like there's still, like, a stigma around, like, swing training around golf and stuff with baseball. Like, this is like the core skill needed in these sports, is to be able to swing it fast, so your 90th percentile exit velocity in either sport is really good. Like, look into that for baseball as well, because it is kind of just one of those dumbass things of, like, oh yeah, like, why wouldn't you, like, bat speed, like, they're just learning about bat speed in Major League Baseball. Like, why wouldn't you want to have massive bat speed? Like, oh, you might not hit the ball. No, like, you want to hit the ball as hard as you possibly can.
Also, if
I
you
know
have
you
2
don't
strikes,
agree with that.
you don't have to swing it as hard as you can,
Exactly. So,
but it's there.
anyways, I know I've raved about this product for a long time, but I'm legitimately, like, have FOMO of, like, all the stuff I've been battling health wise personally and time wise, of, like, I've not been able to stick to this program because, well, I mean, I'll go find the message. I said it to you. I said, like, dude, I think you would freaking love the stack. And, like, watching you get super into it has been super exciting as well. So,
It's been great, and you didn't mention it, but the thing that I've gotten the most, or not the most value, but a lot of value out of this winter, I mean, it just
wedges.
categorically disastrous winter and spring weather-wise up here. Haven't hit balls outside yet, which is kind of says it all. But in my garage, I have a net and a mat, and just being able to do the stack wedges and
Yeah.
just dial in, like, what is 71, what is 79, what is 85, what is 93, and just being able to do that, like, every couple days and keep those feels around for the winter is, like, got me most excited because I really I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with the driver and I struggle with the wedges, and that's a tough place to be. And I feel like coming into this season, finally, I'm like, all right, I feel like I actually am retaining some of these feels, and a lot of that's just because of the stack and the way that they make it kind of gamified, and it's
Yeah.
fun to listen to music or turn on the TV and watch golf while you're doing it or whatever. It's just it's great.
And all, I mean, Cody made a good point too. Is, like, I think I've presented it as a speed training program, the stack. Like, no, it's to get you better at golf. Like, the
Yep.
resources within it, the wedges are on their way. In terms of being a part of the program, that's coming very, very soon. And the stack putting aspect they have of there as well. It's like, it's not all just speed training. They have this learning library where you can, like, go to for all these fundamentals if you're, trying to create speed. It's a really freaking awesome product. So I know we're talking about it here a long time, but that's kind of the whole point, is to be able to shine a little light on something that has been really, really additive to our golf process. So,
All right, well, for the gearheads, what's in the bag right now? What do we got?
Titleist GT2 driver switched from the GT3 as I entered the dad back phase. I'm not going to scientifically explain why this is a better
Sorry, you
fit
said
than
you
the
went from the 3 to the 2 or from the 2 to the 3?
correct from the 3 to the 2.
Okay.
I had the 3, and once I hit the dad back phase and was losing flexibility and not playing as much golf, the ball was going left, and the guy was like, "Yeah, let's get you refit." And I felt like such a stooge doing that, but they were like, "No, no, like, we have guys that, like, sleep funny on the flight from, like, the US to the UK before the British Open and change drivers. This isn't that crazy." I'm like, "Okay, good. That actually makes me feel a lot better." Helped me from getting that ball from going left, because my goal this year, trap draw goal, was to eradicate the lefts. We're not all the way
Mm.
there yet. We're
Would
not.
encourage people to go watch the Gasparilla video. We're you know, that had not taken place quite by that point. But then I would encourage people to go watch the Creator Classic video, in
Which
which
it
case
did
my
off the
guy was
opening
driving the
tee,
shit out of the ball.
and but I still don't know how that happened. I went back to driving it bad in South Carolina a couple
Just
weeks
big time
after that, but,
players making big time plays, man. That's what that was.
like, also just goes to, like, legitimately just going and having amnesia with swing feels that work, and I'll be like, "Oh, it's ingrained now. I know I haven't worked on it in 2 weeks, but I don't need to keep thinking about that swing feel." But,
Yeah, swing
so
thoughts might not be it. I think
that's
I'm learning that as I go on.
that's been a really good change. I got the GT3 3-wood. I'm very excited to try the mini driver.
Oh,
I need to
great.
get fit into one of those immediately, but I got a T200 2-iron. I asked them to make me a
How
2-iron
far
that
does
just
that
will
how
go
far does
low.
that go? Yeah.
Like, comically far. It probably
The
carry when
200s
I
are rocket ships in, like, the
it
most fun way.
like, in total, I can hit it 250 easily when it's somewhat firm because it goes so low, and that was the whole point, was, like, I just literally want a club that, like, I can sting and it hits and runs. I got it for Australia when we went a couple years ago. Like I'm very excited to try this out over in Northern Ireland as well. Of just I don't almost never hit it expecting to hold a green with it. Even if I'm hitting it going into a green, it's like this is running up to it. It's not a club I shoot up in the air. So carry distance, I couldn't really tell you other than like if I've got like 240 back into the wind on a par three of some kind, I'm probably hitting 2 iron and trying to sting it and run it up there. So
And you hit it off the tee a lot.
yeah, off
Yeah.
the tee. Anytime I don't hit driver, like I wish I was more comfortable hitting three woods off tees. But I think that's kind of where the mini driver will hopefully help me. Of like I almost put myself to the test of like either I can hit an 80% driver or it's 2 iron is
Yeah.
usually my decision making off the tee. But no, I freaking love that club. It's been awesome. So and then I go T150 4 iron through pitching wedge. So the T150s, if you're not familiar, are essentially they're a little different chassis, I believe is the word, than the T100s. A little wider sole, a little bit more forgiving, but also lofted down 2 degrees. When we were with Callaway, I played the Apex Pros, which were also lofted down 2 degrees. And when we first got with Titleist, I was in the T100s, which again puts me back up 2 degrees. And I just had played so much golf at that different level that I was really struggling with kind of the concept of like, all right, now that it's 160, like that has been 9 iron for me because it's like an 8.5 iron. And that has been 9 iron for me. And like when I would try to hit 8 iron from 160, I wouldn't hit it hard. Like I just couldn't like mentally get over that hurdle. Like the way I kind of like to play golf is lower trajectory with the irons and like playing to a front number and trying to drive it in versus like trying to come in completely aerial. I don't know if that makes sense other than like when it's 170 to a back pin and there's any kind of help, I'd rather just smash a 9 iron than like try to fillet the 8 iron.
Yeah.
And the lower trajectory irons help me do that. So I've
Do you think
loved the
that's a
T150.
Do you think that's a swing path thing? Do you think that's like a contact thing? Do you think it's a mental thing? Do you think it's like a commitment thing? Because I struggle with the same thing. And I almost always I'm realizing this. This was like some of the golf blueprint stuff I was doing a couple months ago. And I'm realizing like the harder, not the harder I swing, but like really firm, much more committed, like let me max this one out is almost always going to be a better shot than, what I did earlier in my career, quote unquote, where I was like able to float stuff a little bit better and shape stuff a little bit better. I'm like, man, I don't know if the equipment's changing over the years. I'm obviously changing, the golf ball's changing, but like I just find that so much harder to do, which I think is interesting. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think it's a little bit even. I'll sprinkle in a little course management aspect into that of like just dispersions on irons. And like, again, if it's a back pin 170, I don't want to draw a perfect circle around that back pin and
Yeah.
have the dispersion be around that. You want the dispersion to be more towards the middle of that green. And what's going to be more towards the middle of the green there? The club that is less. And I love to hold an iron in my hand that I can't hit over. Even if I smash it, it's not going to go over. Right. And look, different. That's not to say I do that every time. Like if it's back into the wind, it's a completely different thought. I don't want to mash something into the wind. That's just going to increase the spin, it's just going to balloon on me and all that. But for whatever reason, like the T150 kind of profile, if I want to hit a hard 9 iron, I can get more distance out of it. Whereas with the other lofts, a hard 9 iron was just going higher for me and
Mm,
spinning more and not necessarily going farther, if that makes sense. Like
it
I just
does.
didn't have that dial up level and just more. I like to, if it's 170 to the back pin and if it's 145 front, it's like, all right, even a slightly mishit hard 9 iron should cover the front, right? And that's I've just gotten to a better spot of being able to like do that kind of calculus and understand. I mean, like when you caddy for me, I like that front number and the pin numbers. That's how pros work, and like the more I've gotten to work in that mindset, the better I've been about all that. So it's more about what that median shot's going to be more than it is what your best shot is going to
Yeah.
be. Is how I've improved in game planning coming into greens.
That makes a lot of sense. What do we got in the wedges?
48, 54, and 58 degree SM10 wedges. The 48, it goes about probably 130, just smooth, normal stock level. I don't want to hit the 54 anywhere above 110 without any help. Aaron Dill rule. Just instead of I used to be 60, 58, 52. He lofted me down 2 degrees and everything. Said never hit a full wedge again. easiest, dumbest advice ever. Like, of course, just why would you do it? You just don't need to
It's
do it.
crazy
So
spending 20 years just like, "Man, watch how much this thing fucking backspins. Check this out. Watch how much I can just rip this thing back." It's like, "No, maybe what if you just chilled a little bit?"
exactly. I still get my hand caught in the cookie jar a little bit with that, but then I won't hit the 58 anywhere above 95 yards. Probably even then, I've just gotten a lot more committed. I'm not necessarily better at it, but more committed. Just be like, dude, just hit a nice, easy little 54 in there. And it's taken me a while to adjust to that new kind of gapping and those new numbers, but I'd say we're getting there. And I can't figure out a setup that doesn't leave me with a 20-yard gap somewhere in there. And I think I'd rather that be with like a Vokey faced wedge, like the
Yeah.
48 degree. I've thought about like, do I want it to be 49 degrees to kind of middle that gap a little bit better? I don't think I need to, just because I feel really comfortable hitting that 48 degrees. I can hit that one full like that. I have no problem hitting that one full and getting more out of it. At the same time, can hit that 85, 90% and do anything from 115, 120, 120. I just feel like I feel really good about distance control with that club for whatever reason.
And I think that some of that gap is it's the strong pitching wedge, right? Like that 44-degree pitching wedge, because I struggle with the same thing with the 150s, and that gap between 115 and 130, basically 110 and 130 is kinda where I can find
Yep.
myself in no man's land a little bit. I have a gap wedge that I love now, 50-degree, that is covers most of that, or but then I kinda get into that same conversation where I'm trying to take a little bit off the pitching wedge, like we were saying earlier, rather than hitting it hard, and then that's when I tend to, like, exacerbate mistakes and mess up my tempo or come down steep and closed and pull it or something like that. So that's a shot. Watch this space. We're working on that one.
But I think kind of what I was talking about there with like the 170 back pin and figuring out the puzzle there, it's even more important when you get into this range with
Yeah.
wedge because like let's say it's 134 middle pin, whatever, and that's between 48 degree and pitching wedge for me.
Just
Again,
just
it's going to
opt
become
for
a
the thing that's gonna be safe, right? Like,
well, it's a calculus thing. It's so 116 front, let's call it. If the pin's 18 on, like I know like even a slight miss hit with this wedge is going to cover 125. So does that make me want to pull that club? Or do I want to introduce long with
right.
the pitching wedge and hit a really good feeler? Then it becomes like I don't need to hit this wedge 134 for it to be an okay shot. Pitching wedge could be great for a birdie, but could be a disaster shot. If I take a little off, I could pull it. And all that to say, like I don't worry as much about finding holes in that gap because I guess I've just a little more comfortable taking a little bit off. That 48.
This is one of those things that's like, it's very obvious when you hear it on the face, and it becomes, like, more and more profound the more you think about it, but Trevor Immelman kept saying on the Masters broadcast, I think he was talking about Nicholas and how he did this calculus basically, like, during rounds, and he was talking about, I think it was with Rory and some of the shots into 15. He was basically saying, I think I'm paraphrasing this right, but Jack was saying, like, "If I think I can hit the shot 8 out of 10 times, I'm going for it." And, if I think it's a 5 out of 10 shot, then I'm also thinking, like, what happens on those other 5? Is the ball plugging in a bunker? Is it going in the water? Is it leading to double somehow? Because if on the other 5, like, there is no danger, then, like, okay, man, it's probably worthwhile. And just thinking about it like you just said there is, like,
Yeah.
the difference between maybe I hit it up there to 7 feet, and maybe I make a 7-footer, and maybe I make a birdie versus it's probably a pretty even chance that I also just, like, plug in that front bunker or in the creek or, whatever is, like, where I feel like my brain doesn't always get to that level of calculation, and that's where so many shots go to die.
And it's so easy to sit here and say this on a pod versus when you get out
Right.
there, but like even at
Watch
my
this birdie.
level, which isn't that great, but it's good. It's I'm still probably statistically more likely to make bogey from 140 than I am birdie,
Totally.
right? Like
Yes. It's a much
so
quicker way of saying what I was just trying to say.
yeah, so like my goal with that should be more bogey avoidance than it is birdie, and you will back into more
It's
birdies
just
than you
not fun,
realize.
though.
It's
That's not
not.
fun.
It's not. It is though. It will lead to more fun. It could because it's not like the thought process there that's going to lead you to less birdies. That's kind of what I get at is
Yeah.
the fact that if you have the mindset of like if I can get this on the green 80% of the time from this distance, which is unrealistic for even for a scratch player, but like that's a really good goal and really good outcome, and that's better than like if you hit it the green 60% of the time, but maybe hit one or two more of them closer. I've seen it. I'm still suck at putting into play. I really do. But like the true conservative approach into greens of just like trying to hit them and leaving yourself 25, 35-foot birdie putts, you will accidentally hit it to 12 feet
Yeah.
more often than you even realize. And you will like just have a really boring round that will be lower than it feels like. And you walk away like, oh my God, that's totally how you're supposed to play golf. Like it really is. It totally is. It's funny enough that I can only get there when I've taken time off of golf. Like when I've played more, I hone more and more in on the fly. Okay, I lose patience, and the goal is here to hit it in there tight, and you can get it's not even getting your hand caught in the cookie jar as much as just like it's not a good long-term strategy. It can work in short spurts. Like we're saying, you don't want your dispersion pattern to be specifically around the pin because the closer those pins get to edges, the more likely that is to provide a lot more trouble for you.
Right. All right, we're deep in the weeds here, but we can't forget about the putter.
That's
What's the
inevitable. Oh yeah. Scotty Cameron's studio style fastback putter. This is a new style of putter that they've got. I put into play directly in front of the Creator Classic. Difference between the Phantom 7 that I had, 7.5, I think I had actually, the Gasparilla, and that was a massive difference for me. I've been asking for something with an insert, something to help slow speed off the face for me, which, as you can see in that video, when you put me on fast greens in competition, the ball coming fast off a putter for me was a massive problem. And I struggle to close the face when I'm trying to hit the putt as easy as I was in those tournament rounds. And especially like on left to right putts, the immediate impact this thing had under in competition was like it was awesome. It's great. I freaking love this new putter. I've not got to use it enough because I haven't played much really since then, but I don't feel like it feels like a weapon again. And you've known me to be a good putter for as long as we've known each other, and it just has I'm really stoked to be fit into something that I think can actually make a difference for me on the greens.
That's so wild to me too because I feel like I don't know, we're similar in a lot of ways, golf and non-golf, and the putter I think is the biggest difference between you and I. Where like when I pick up your you've always been like an insert guy, and I have never been an insert guy, and
I used the Odyssey O-Work 7, like a
yeah,
dinged up a version they didn't even make anymore. Not their best technology. Like I just used that putter until forever. Like it's still like I don't even think it was conforming anymore for how damaged the putter is. And that was just the only. I've never been a good putter until I had that one, and it's just like a weirdly good fit. I've just brought that to Titleist people as I was like, trying to find the exact best fit into all that. But it was all like hearing me try to explain that, I sound like a fucking idiot of like, I don't know, man. Like I just, the way the shaft
could you just
fits
make it
into the
like better?
club head.
I don't know. Yeah,
No, like the club head, I can't hit it offline. Like, but why? I don't know. I just sound like a total idiot trying to describe why this putter, but like, that's just how personal putters are to people. And this is a fit and shape that I was not what I was picturing myself getting into, but it's hard to argue with the results so far.
yeah. All right. Well, I kind of want to go back to the beginning. Like I said, we got a little into the weeds there on some stuff, but I do not know the answer to this question. How did you get into golf? What's the beginning of your golf story?
So I'm pretty sure, almost positive, my first round of golf was on a family vacation in Myrtle Beach when I was 8 years old. Shout out to Cane Patch Par Three, which I think I looked up at one point. I don't believe is still there. I would be stunned if it was still there.
I think we would have gone there for Strapped if it was. I'm sure.
I used to ride around my family. I was originally born in Charleston, West Virginia. I lived there until I was 6 years old, and I do remember riding around the golf cart with my dad at Berry Hills Country Club, where he was a member when I was an absolute tyke. I don't think I ever played. I didn't do more than chip or putt or whatever out there, but I was pretty into the game very early on. We lived in Dublin, Ohio, growing up, for the more impressionable part of my childhood. And I really learned to play at a place called Twin Oaks there in Dublin. It was a 9-holer that was not far from our house at all. Wildly shitty in retrospect, but I mean, it meant the world to me. That place was just, I think it was $9 to play 9 holes, but then I think it was 11 for a full 18. So it was basically a $2 replay. My parents would make me like fake gift cards for Twin Oaks, as in it was just like money, really, of like that for birthdays and holidays would be like, yeah, you get 5 passes to go play Twin Oaks because like, my parents they didn't spoil my golf habit as a kid. Like it was kind of a I'm not necessarily pay my own way, but at time, pay. I had to chip in. I had to take care. It wasn't just like you got a free run to go play golf whenever you wanted to, but it made me appreciate it and want to work for it and the opportunities to go actually play.
Which also seemed possible in that time when you could actually get tee times and golf courses were not A, disappearing, and the ones that were left were not, like, completely overrun and needing to be booked 3 weeks in advance, and they had junior programs and junior rates, and, I assume anyways, if it was similar to where I grew up, which it sounds like it was.
It will not shock you. This place does no longer exist. That's going to be a theme coming up here. But I had a newspaper route, and that's like what I spent my money on doing.
You and the
Was going
cat.
there. That's right. Those early years, I don't think I fully understood the concept. Like I had to really work backwards to get into competitive golf because I took mulligans out the ass back then. I played preferred lies
Yeah,
everywhere.
another
Uh,
66 for me.
I have all these scorecards from home that come home and I just like 72 as like a 10-year-old or a
Sure.
12-year-old.
This
So it was
guy's a
come home and tell my
prodigy.
dad, I'm like, yeah, I shot under par today. He'd be like, no, you didn't, but I'm glad you had fun. They did a good job of letting me enjoy the game however I wanted to. But when I did graduate to 18-hole courses, a place called Shamrock Golf Club was a place we just beat up a bunch. Had a bunch of middle school and high school matches there. It was very much just okay, but again, it became my world. That place no longer exists as well. Just a few minutes from our house, and then right as I was getting into high school. My dad joined a local club called Riviera Golf Club. I think it might have been country club at the time, but there was no pool. It was just a golf club.
George
It was
Thomas.
yeah, exactly. It's a
Oh,
classic design.
having the Olympics, I think, in a couple of years.
The women are playing there too for the
Yeah,
US Open.
very cool.
It was owned by the American Italian Golf Association. It was built in the 70s, a group of American, Italian immigrants that were discriminated against and not allowed to join clubs in Ohio, like built their own club there when it was just like before Dublin was a thing. Like it was just built out in the field. That place, of course, no longer exists
God.
as houses have encroached on all of that, and it closed down about 10 years ago. Actually, one of the first articles I ever wrote on our website was about that place closing. But me and my buddy Frankie, I mean, this is where golf became like my thing. Was this place when we literally did the morning drop off, at evening pickup, bang balls, play 18, have lunch, putting contest, back to the range. We had a game we'd call Dirty Up the Red Green, which was like the shortest green. And we would just like made the range pickers guy his life hell of just literally hit as many balls onto the red green as possible. Like how many balls can you like pepper onto that green? Which is good wedge practice
Sure.
back in the day. I did ultimately work at this golf course for 4 years after this membership. So I paid my dues back for all the picker life that I made hell. But it was just like where I became totally obsessed with golf. We would watch infomercials on TV during our lunch break while we had quesadillas and Shirley Temples.
Like the
I learned
hammer or what else? What other infomercials are we talking?
I just remember the Adams Tight Lies, Pure Spin Diamond Face Scoring Wedge, where the guy was hitting.
If you worked in the golf shop, I'm sure did you ever get so stoked when, like, in the Lost and Found, you guys would find one of those, like, either the Pure Spin Diamond Face Wedge or a knockoff or one of the ones with, like, sandpaper on the face or something. I always remember finding those in the Lost and Found and just be like, "Oh, man, I can't wait to take." Well, again, watch how much this thing fucking spins. Check this check this shot out.
I do remember a lesson learned from my dad. I did not. So we had like I think it was $150 quarterly minimum for food minimum, which I thought meant 150 free dollars of just like you could order whatever. And apparently,
Mm.
distinctly remember like having the bill brought to my room of like this is what you did at the club. Like you're paying for this. Like this is not you don't get to just like shout out the number and daddy pays. That's not how the things are going to work. And I remember having to work backwards. Like I think it was a couple $100, which that was a lot of weeks of newspaper
Yeah.
route back then. My favorite memories from this time were again spending the whole day out there. But then like after work, my dad would come and either join me or me and my buddy Frankie, and we would play an evening nine. And like that was where like I just like fell in love with golf the most of just so stoked to whatever new swing feel I found out that day, show off to my dad that night, and just playing in the evening light, riding around in a golf cart because we always walked. You get to ride in the cart in the evening with your dad, and you're racing against daylight. We'd always get to the ninth hole as a par three, and it was always so dark. And I just remember hitting shots from up atop that hill, and there was a little fountain in the pond that was short of that green. And you would hit the shot, and you would just everybody would go silent, and you would only hear the fountain, and you would just listen as close as you can to be like, oh, I think that was green. Oh, that was bunker. Or you would hear the splash, and we'd go get dinner afterward, and it was just like all I wanted to get up and go do again the next day. It is just I'm forever thankful for those days and those nights spent at that place, being the last people in with the golf cart, and then waiting for those people when I worked
Of
there,
course.
and hating those people. But those are the best tippers usually. It honestly like tremendously bums me out that that place does not exist anymore. That the clubhouse is not there. That a
What was
place that
it?
I
Just like
honestly
a housing development type of thing?
it's a house. It's houses now, and it was a threat for a long time. They held off as long as they could, and it went from pub or private to semi-private, and it was always a low end. I mean, it was a there's a lot nicer clubs and more pricey places around Dublin. Definitely Tartan Fields. Obviously, there's Muirfield Village. Then there's Muirfield Country Club, Wedgwood. There's all kinds of just country clubs, and it just became slowly. There's a middle school. My middle school was built next to it as well, and then houses kept going on in all these different corners. A new high school was built over there, and the sign is still there, Riviera Golf Club,
Ooh,
like entering the
almost worse.
neighborhood. I know. I went and drove around it and walked around it about 10 years ago, and you could find the cart paths, you could find some of the bunkers, and I don't know, man. That place had a massive, massive impact. And actually, you inspired me when we did our scavenger hunt to go scour eBay for any memorabilia. I found a matchbook from the club on eBay
Oh,
from
hell yeah.
Riviera Country Club.
Oh, that's great.
Uh, Found that, and I found a golf ball, one of those like firm ass Titleist balls, but had the club logo on it. It's somewhere back here. I might have lost it already, but I needed a few nostalgic memories. One thing, too, my mom always used to go walk over there, and she found me a bag drop sign, like which I used to work the bag drop.
Oh, that's
She
great.
found one of those and like refurbished it for me. We actually have it in actually, yeah, I think it's in storage here. It was in the kill house for a long time, but that's a memorable piece I keep from that. But yeah, my buddy Frankie and I just we spent so much freaking time at that place and just have memories on every single hole of something dumb that happened. And I still remember like 2520. That was his member number. Mine was 2656. Like I remember that. We haven't been members there since like 2003. Like how crazy is that?
What was your game like at this time? Were you like all, again, similar upbringing, I'm sure. And the whole thing for me and my friends at that age, just like, can you hit a draw? You're a real player if you can hit a draw. Obviously now that's like the scariest thing in the entire world to me, but I'm curious what your style was.
I was a baseball player too, so I kind of had the patented like over the top slice for a lot of the early part, and I think I'm kind of over like the true core of me wanting to do that, but that took like so much work at the range without any guidance. I think
Sure.
I had 3 entire lessons as a kid, and it was
Imagine
from
how
my
quick somebody could have fixed it.
it's pretty quickly. Honestly, I think I took 3 whole lessons in my entire junior career, and that wasn't until like later in high school when my neighbor, the guy that lived 5 houses down from us, who was a young budding pro, gave us our family a deal of 5 lessons for $100. And I only
Thank you.
used 3 of them. I remember that he still owes me 2 lessons if I could cast it sometime. But no, just like legitimately hit balls on that range at Riviera for hours and hours, just like trying to learn how to take divots and learn how to hit it solid. I just wanted the swing
Mission
path to
accomplished on that one. You take the
I
biggest
could do
divots of
that.
anybody I've ever seen.
I could get the path if I could get the path to go right. Like all I felt like I was doing Sergio stuff and I could never get that path to go right. But I played multiple sports, so I was never AJGA kid, and I was just not that good. I played made the middle school golf team, and I just wasn't. I have almost no good memories of like. I think I broke 40 maybe once. I don't even think I actually broke 40 ever in an eighth grade match or anything like that. I just was not that good. I could have a good little run of 4 holes, and I choked so hard every time. I was a really bad putter. I used like my dad's hand-me-down Mizuno clubs, and then I got some tailor-made super steels, which I used for
Sure.
many years, but they were not fit for me. And then I ended up with tailor-made racks. I think by my
Oh,
senior
yes.
year, yeah.
God, they sold so
Um,
many of those.
I went through so many different kinds of putters. My dad, my dad had the Nubbins putter. I don't know if you remember that. It was literally like a ping pong paddle face.
Yeah, it's probably where you got your affinity for these stupid insert putters.
But, yeah, my original
The
driver was
nubbins
called
putter. God, I
the
haven't thought about that
Beast.
so long.
I forgot about the Beast, that driver as well, but I was a bubble shaft guy at one point. I remember that. And no, I just was not. I just had so many memories of just golf being just hitting you with golf and baseball hitting you so much with the just gut feeling of failure so often, which is like when I became, and we'll build up to that, when I got good at golf in 2019 and 2020, it was such a foreign I think I truly never thought would happen in my life. Like I never associated golf with like success. It just always ended with some kind of heartbreak in some way. Like I broke par, I think twice ever in high school matches or tournaments. And those like the outliers, like the rest were like Solomon shot 88. And I was a decent high school player, made the team, made the varsity team as a sophomore, but like that was, maybe breaking 80 a couple few times a year, like usually still shooting in the 80s and gagging in the most important tournaments, like always. And then by the time I was a senior, I was the number 3 player on the team. And I was much better player then, but also the top 2 guys on our team played D1. So I kind of I don't think I knew in my head that I always downplayed my ability because I was just compared to these dudes that shot like 66, not infrequently. There's a story, I don't think I ever told this on the pod when I've definitely told the Solomon shot 88 senior year, where how my high school career ended. I've probably told the story in basketball. I ended my career on 0 points as well. So I'm not carrying those with me. But junior year, we go to regionals. Our team is so sick. No way we shouldn't qualify for state. Like we just no way. And it's a really cold day for what and Apple Valley there where we had a lot of regional tournaments. And I'm thinking I'm the number 4 player on the team at the time. Our number 1 is sick. He just committed Northwestern. Like he's like unbelievable.
Luke
He
Donald.
goes out and shoot 85 that day. Our number 2 shits the bed, and it becomes like I had a great front. I shot even on the front 9, 36, like when it was like freaking cold. And it became like, dude, you might have to carry us to states. And I was like, all right, I got this. I got this. Battled on the back 9, and like, I made a couple bogeys. It got started getting really windy. And gosh, I made an
Also,
8-foot
just
putt.
real good pause there, real quick. Just like between those two nines is classic high school golf. Like, hey, I know everything's going great right now, but now you need to really
Yeah.
tighten it up. Change what you're doing and just start trying harder right now is what we need from you. That is like the most high school golf thing I think I've ever heard.
I remember I made an 8-foot putt outside the hole on both the 17th and 18th holes to shoot 75 that day, which was an outrageously good score on that day for weather-wise. It was a good score for me anyways, and outrageously good weather-wise. And I walked off and I heard the news that like, yeah, Kyle shot 85 and like Brent shot 80 and like Blake, yeah, it did not go well. I'm like, holy shit, we're not going to make it to states. Like that's it. Honestly, never once in my life would I ever have considered like our team was so good and I was not even close to the best player on the team. Like individual qualification made no sense to me. But not one, but 2 officials from the high school association came up to me to congratulate me on qualifying as an individual. Like, they would take the top guys that,
Yeah.
if your team qualified, you didn't, your score gets thrown out, right? It was the top individual qualifiers on teams that didn't qualify. I'm like, yeah, you like there's 3 groups left on the course, but like
You rocked them.
you're in. You're in. And like my parents were there and it was kind of weird. It was like a little bit celebratory, but like I'm super bummed for my team. But like my parents wanted to jump around, and be like, unbelievable job. And they're like, do you want us to take the golf clubs back for you? And I was like, no, I'll hang on to them. And then, we had to take the van back to the school and then go home. They leave and like we are, things are wrapping up and we have to stick around now because I'm going to get like a medal for or whatever for qualifying. We hear this big roar on the final green,
Tough.
and like one guy bombed a 45-foot putt and one guy chipped in. Now I'm in a 3-for-1 playoff to go to states. My parents had they did take my shoes. I don't know why, but my golf shoes are gone. I had to wear one of my teammates' shoes and like we'd go get the clubs out of the van and like hurry down for a playoff. And I had to go into like all these people out there following it. And sure enough, some guy rolls in like a 45-footer. Every year it gets 5 feet longer. So it's a 45-footer on the second playoff hole to like eliminate me. And I did not make it. No cell phones, like none of this. So we go make it all the way home. And like my parents like stayed up. I don't think they had banners or anything, but I don't know if
Oh
they had a
god.
cake or what, but it was like a
They got gift certificates
congratulations
for you for the
party.
golf course to go play five more rounds.
They had like, a congratulations party for me, and I
Oh,
had to be like, "I'm not messing with you. I didn't make it. Like, I did not make it." And they thought I was pranking them. I'm like, "No, I did not make it." So that was one of my great heartbreaks. But
that's tough. That's tough. Well, what happens next? Graduate high school, go to college in Miami, play much golf there? What's the word?
so golf kind of just fades for me pretty quickly in this time period. We would play, I don't know, 3, 4 times a year at Miami, but not frequently enough. Other things became priorities. I would still go back and work at the golf course in the summer. Like I'd work, and if I worked from 7 to 2, I'd maybe stick around and try to play in the afternoon. I always got to play for free, and that was my way of getting golf in the summer, was without having to pay for it, was to work at the club. And but for the most part, I worked all summer long, save up money, to go back to school with, and fund my activities there. I still loved it, but it was just like hard to prioritize at that time. And then when I got out in the real world, it was really hard to prioritize. Like I was just broke and trying to live in the city, and like trying to drive out on weekends and spending like $100 to play golf was just not where the money was going in that time period. So I fell out of love with it. But a couple years in, and I met a golf buddy at work, and we just started to get back into it. And then it became like a real itch again. I remember like in my cubicle spending time reading, I think his name is John Sabino, the top 100 golf blog or whatever it is. Like I would just sit at my desk, like reading his blog about playing the top 100 golf courses in the world and just like fantasize about it. Like, I think that's kind of where my golf wanderlust returned, and where my like I never viewed golf anything outside of competitive until around in that time period, when it was just like about going out, having fun, drinking on the golf course if you wanted to, but just like being outdoors after spending all week in the city cooped up in a building, and and not wanting to spend your weekends just amongst building, go out green grass and get out. That kind of weird adult feeling started to come around in that time period. I started to get back into it, and before you knew it, I was obsessed again. And we're played at Ravislow a bunch there in Chicago. We would find any random, and all of a sudden I started to reprioritize not going out on Fridays, to getting up early on Saturdays, to go drive an hour and a half maybe to go find a golf course that was $20 cheaper than the one that was in, an hour away or something like that. And we had a good group of golf buddies that did that a lot. And I started to really get back in love with it. But then like around 2014, right around when I got the offer to go to Amsterdam, it was kind of like, all right, I think I might want to do something just a little bit more fulfilling. Like I really like golf, but I think there's probably just more things I could pursue personally than just doing the same thing every weekend. Little did I know that I was setting out. One of those things was just running a golf blog in my spare time, and I really did go abroad. I let my clubs collect dust I stored them in my bathtub in my small apartment in Amsterdam. There was nowhere else to put them, and I let them collect dust until like the back half of that, when I started to learn that, one, we had a successful golf blog and podcast at this time, and two, hey, there was
The
some
golf
really
blog, no laying it up.
exactly. There's some crazy good golf courses like within very short, easy flights from here that you can like once in a lifetime experiences that like once I started like trying to do that was like, oh my God. Like that was when like this spring of 2016 into 2017 was when I met a guy's name's Barry O'Hanrahan. He ran an Irish golf podcast, and he just invited me to fly over and go play like some golf around there. And like we just did a little mini golf trip, and I was just like completely flabbergasted and blown away by Portmarnock. And we played the island on that trip, and I just had never really experienced links golf. I went to St. Andrews summer of 2015, but I totally didn't appreciate or get it. Kings Barnes was my favorite of those courses that we played on that, because I liked the views and I liked the
Sure.
turf. And I just, once I started to like explore and learn like true links golf, it was mostly a pro golf blog and podcast up to that point, and then it became like a golf lifestyle thing we were doing. And it was that time period of 2016 to 2017, which 2017 just became the year I maybe took too much advantage of what was at our fingertips, and played truly like a lifetime's worth of top golf courses in the world in one year. But it was just kind of, I had this itch and this pursuit of like, and this realization that I've had some of this access that I dreamed about reading this blog, that, and like I was just totally smitten with traveling to experience what golf culture is like in northern Scotland versus western Scotland, western England, northwest England, and meeting all these people and seeing their golf courses and learning a totally different style of play and culture of play just took me to a place where I was like, I going from like being at a desk for so much of your time to like now being outdoors and experiencing it was one of the great trade-offs I've ever made in my life.
So I want to hear some more highlights of that summer of 2017, which is like just comically good. But also, I want to know. I don't know if I have asked you this before. Like, are you just emailing all the club captains and just being like, "Hey, I don't know if you heard of my Twitter account, but it's a pretty big deal. Would love to come through." Or are you talking to members or some
It
combo?
was
I assume, but
mostly clubs directly, and the Irish and British and Scottish clubs were, like, way more responsive and supportive than I, would have thought at the time. Growing up in the States, you go email a country club, "Hey, I'd love to come out and give you publi" like, shut up, like, stop, kid, that doesn't work. But in hindsight, like I was giving them an unbelievable offer, which was like, hey, I will do maybe 8 to 10 hours of work for you for free in exchange for one of your tea times. It's going to go to waste probably anyways. If you'll let me come out and take pictures and write out, like I didn't know at the time. I was like, that's an unbelievable trade. This $80 tea time at this place for me to do all this free publicity and take photos and all this. But it served a good purpose. Like people were enjoying reading the travel content and all that stuff. But it was just, hey, we've got this Twitter account's got this many followers. We would like to do a write up. Here's an example of a write up I did at blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested in hosting us? No big deal if not, but figure to reach out. And they usually say, yeah, we'd love to sort you out. And I didn't know at the time really that that's quite common for a lot of places, just with media people in general. Like it's just commonplace to get comped and to kind of get golf writers or media. That's how the word gets out about your place if you want a lot of member play or guest play with it. So I'd probably cringe if I went back and read any of those emails that I sent, but it worked. It somehow worked, and then I became less shy doing it and got more emboldened. And yeah, almost very 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 few no's, and if it was for a good reason usually.
what were the golf courses that like made the light bulb go off the most? And what was the light bulb? Like, what did you kind of like? Oh my god, I've never thought about that before. Type of stuff.
I think it wasn't even just the golf courses. It honestly was like my dad and I went, I think it was fall of 2016, went to Western Ireland, and we flew into Dublin and we drove all the way out there. And just the like being in Western Ireland and being on these one lane roads with traffic going both directions amongst these farms and these fields and these houses and these little towns that just were not laid out in a optimized format in some way, like just being like off the map and feeling like you're back in time on these strange corners of the earth. I wasn't that heavily traveled probably at the time, and it just honestly felt like I traveled to the ends of the earth to play golf. Like when you arrive at like Waterville and Lahinch and these places that are, Ballybunion, and experiencing those with my dad, walking at all times, playing shots along the ground. Couldn't tell you at all what I would have shot at any point, but like experiencing that, having pops of sunshine, meeting people, experiencing the pubs, going and getting the Guinnesses after the rounds, and just driving around Western Ireland with my dad, going all the way up to I had to take over the driving at one point. He was struggling with driving on the opposite sides of the road, and then making the trip we made the trip all the way up to Cairn on that one, which I had a bad tendency of putting way too much stuff into very short periods of time at this time in my life. But that was very light bulb for me of how much was out there, how many great experiences there were to be had out there, and just the style of golf. I mean, and we've talked about it a million times over the years of just like learning to disconnect. There's no better place to disconnect yourself from your score than links golf. Like
Mhm.
it just becomes so much about embracing the challenge of one particular shot, learning that 8 iron from 120 might not be enough sometimes. And like it just once that stuff started to, unpack for me. And like, if I go back even farther, I would say summer of 15 when we did that initial St. Andrews trip. Like I had a great caddy at Carnoustie. Ian, I remember his name. He was just an awesome, awesome caddy that like helped the light bulb go off for me in terms of like I forget what hole we were on, but he just tells me, I remember it was 153 yards. It was a 9 iron, and he tells me to aim it like so far right of where I would have ever dreamed of aiming like a 9 iron, like right of a green. The wind was off the right, and he's like, if you hit it over this hill, ball's going to disappear for a while. But the wind and the direction, it's going to take everything to the left. And I hit the exact shot he was asking, disappeared for a while, and just he's like, wait, wait, wait. And the ball appeared like 10 feet right of the hole. And I was just like running up and down the fairway. I'm like, oh my, I get it now. I totally get it That's the coolest thing ever, is maybe where I would trace it back to the longer I rant about this.
Man, that's gets me very excited. We're going on a trip this upcoming week over to Northern Ireland. So everything you just said has got me fired up for that trip. Also gonna be doing some packing on that trip, and of course, gonna be packing some stuff from our friends at Holderness Bourne. So I tell the people about H&B.
This hoodie right here, the Lawson. This was a game. I actually bought a Tree Farm hoodie with the Lawson, and immediately I'd been light on shopping on our own site with some of the hoodies we have. I was like, I got any edition of the Lawson hoodie I can get my hands on. I am, but they just launched their new spring 2025 collection on hbgolf.com. They got fresh color stories of fusion, deep teal, citron, marlin blue, liberty red, scotch pink. They've expanded on their aeration line of ventilated shirts, vests, layering, all that stuff, micro perforations, macro comfort. The Tilly, their first quarter zip hoodie, is versatile for off the course. The Picket is a new activewear t-shirt for the gym or your run. The aeration technology on the back and underarm areas. The Wallace is back in new colors as well. We love the black one in that one as well. I'll be packing my blue one, of course, for that trip because that's good for when it's really cool out. But they can't keep those things in stock. hbgolf.com. You can use code NLU10 for 10% off your first order. That's the only discount code on the market for H&B.
In tandem with the
NLU10.
trap draw, of course.
What's that? Yeah,
In
of
tandem
course.
with our sister programming, the trap
Yeah.
draw.
NLU10 at hbgolf.com for 10% off your first order. Shout out to our friends at Holderness and Bourne that continue to absolutely crush it.
All right, so I know it's easy to talk about the magic and mysticism of links golf, but when you get back over to the states, what gives you satisfaction when you're out playing golf? You've always struck me as a score based type of guy. I think that would be a fair assessment. For everything you just said about kind of throwing out the score when you're over there playing links golf. Help me kind of square the circle a little bit on those types of things.
It's funny because that year of 2017, for as much golf as I played, I played like 100 rounds. I think I played probably 25 of the top 100 courses in the world that year. Like, it was truly absurd, and I did as good of a job as I've ever done of like not caring what I shot. I don't even think my handicap went down that year. Honestly, it was just I was really starting to enjoy golf courses and individual shots and challenges and experiences more than I was tied up in my golf score, which was different than how I'd lived my life forever. Now, what came with like ultimately playing a lot more golf, in 2017 and in 2018, especially when we were starting out this out full time, starting to play some golf on camera was like the itch, the feel starting to come back a little bit. I started to get a lot better just naturally at golf. I started compressing the ball a lot better, started driving it far again, started to make more birdies, and like had a few magical 9-hole rounds. You go out to Jack's Beach, and all of a sudden I've got a birdie putt on the last hole to shoot 29. And I'm starting to feel that itch again. I'm like, am I good? Do I have what it takes here? And like, you start to get punched back down every now and then. But we played enough golf, and I just started to, I don't know, start to feel a little bit more competitive. Started working with Corey Lundberg at the Altus Performance Center when we went up met with him in 2019, and like started to get the itch to get maybe back into some events. Like, you caddied for me. We did a USAM qualifier there the summer of 2019.
Did the first half of
And
it anyways.
well, yeah, I had to withdraw because we didn't know it was a 36-hole event, or we didn't know it was 2-day event. I knew it was 36 holes, thought it was
Just
one
ran out of
day.
holes.
But like, I shot set like a really good well finished 76 that day without having signed a card since high school, and for putting the first hole. And I was like,
Course.
man, I enjoy this. Like, I really had a lot of fun doing that. Did a mid-am qualifier later that year, made 7 birdies, and still did not qualify for the US mid-am. But I was like, I signed a card for 7 birdies in a USGA qualifier. And like, I was hooked, like summer of 2019 into like that following year. From that point was a level of golf that I truly, truly, truly never thought I would reach. Now, I started hitting it really, really good at the end of 2019. And when I did an interview with Brennan Todd after he won 2 events in a row, I did an interview with him at Sea Island November of 19. He mentioned a swing tip that he had heard to kind of eradicate some of the long ball problems he was having, or the big right misses he was having, about arm tension. And he said he took his arm tension from a 7 to a 4. I was like, good. Mine's a 9 right now, probably. And like, when I took it from 9 down, I can't, it's honestly like hard for me to describe how good I started hitting the ball. Like, it started going even farther, even more solid. We at that time decided to do. We were going to be doing a documentary on with a part in partnership with the USGA of like, all right, Soly, your job to start out 2020 is to play golf. Like, and we're going to document you playing tournaments, and you're going to see if you can qualify for the U.S. Open.
What could have
And
been, man. That was gonna be awesome.
it really was going to be awesome. And so I signed up for a bunch of Winter Series events, started traveling to play some tournaments, and I got so into it, practiced all the time. And dude, I again was just like I I I feel like I'm bragging about it all the time, but I still like I never thought I would get to that. And it's a frustrating thing now to have experienced 5 years later because I still feel like I can recapture that, and I'm starting to come to the realization that that time period that's just never coming back. Ever since
Might
I
have been
hurt
your
my
Bobby
back,
Harrington. It might have been your peak, you know? I did
it
pretty good.
honestly
I won 3
was.
majors, you know? I
I
you can't really sustain that for 20 years.
I read "Be a Player" from Pia and Lynn, who have been multiple guests on this podcast multiple times. It got me seeing the mental side of golf in a totally different way. I never won a golf tournament in my entire life, and I entered my first tournament in January of 2020, and I won. I won against like it was 18 people in the field, but I think it had 8 or 9 plus handicaps in the field, and I won by 4. And I honestly thought I never thought I was gonna lose again. My confidence completely soared. I went and played another tournament down in Tampa. I took a two-shot lead into the final round. I was leading by 1 with, like, 5 holes to play. I plugged a ball in a bunker, made bogey, ended up losing by, I think, by 2, it honestly unraveled from there of, like, I thought I was gonna win that tournament too. And I never really fully captured it again under pressure since that moment. But I was like, I'm not only playing good golf, I'm playing good tournament golf. Like the thing that always killed me as a kid was putting pressure on myself and collapsing under big moments, especially near the end of big important rounds. And I was like closing them out. I was, executing under pressure. We had that footage from that first tournament win somewhere. It never got aired with the documentary, but like you went out and followed me. Like I was hitting the golf ball, man. I really was. And COVID hits, completely wipes out that documentary, which was tough. And then like pro golf paused in 2020 from April to June. And like my job was mostly pro golf. Like I played a lot of golf in this time period. And it was even better. I played even better golf in that time period than I played to start that year. So I was freed up of the pressure. I wasn't, there weren't tournaments to be playing in anymore. And like my handicap touched plus 2.6, and I still like can't. And at that time I felt like a plus 4, honestly. I could show up like hungover. I remember there was a day I showed up hungover, late for the opening tee shot, rained down, bogeyed the first hole. I was like, honestly, don't even care, guys. I'll be fine. And I shot 67 that day. Like that's how I was playing golf at that time. It was such a joke, and I thought it was going to be like that forever, and it has literally never even come close to that ever since then. It just, as soon as pro golf picked back up later that summer, I do go back and look at. We don't have that much footage in that time period. Maybe Torresauce, Oregon, is the only time my swing has ever looked like that, that free, that low tension, and that solid. And I've driven myself crazy in the 5 years since then, like going back, pausing these videos of like, wait, how did I ever swing it like that? Like, truly, how did I ever swing the club that way?
How much of it feels technical and how much of it feels mental, though? Because hearing you describe it, I feels much more confidence-based to me.
Well, it is very technical, but not in a way that is controlled by my brain. Like I was ingraining really good habits. I don't even remember what drills I was doing or how I did it. It was like I had a good feel and I kept building on it, kept building on it, kept building on it, kept building on it. And my problem was as fast as I rose up to that almost +3 level, I didn't know how I was doing it. I didn't know like what made it special, like in this time
Yeah,
period.
which
So
once
when
it
it
once it
slipped,
stops, yeah,
I had
exactly.
no way of accessing it again, honestly. I have like 2 videos. We'll probably sprinkle them in the postscript in the YouTube. There's one from a practice round that first Gasparilla I played in 2020, and there's one from the fall of 2019 at Sunningdale. The 2 videos in my phone that when I'm struggling, I always go back and watch because I just like I still can't believe I hit irons like this. I mean, I think that the Palmacia video there is like an 8 iron from 189 a little downwind into that tournament, but it was like, no, I can hit it 178 in the air easily with this thing, and I'm not even swinging hard at it, and it's just like flushy McGee. But I was blacked out. I was blacked out in this time period, and I just was, I don't hit shots now, looking up expecting it to be great. Like there was just almost like an ingrained like, "Oh, I'm expecting this shot to be really good." Versus now it's kind of like, "Oh, hey, I hit that one good. That's good." And there's such a big gap between those two things.
I mentioned this
And
too, in the Ben episode too, but I always laugh at, like, asking him one time when I'm just, like, totally lost with my golf game, and Ben's obviously a good player. I was like, "What what's your swing thought? Like, what talk to me about your, like, your process." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't think about it. I don't know, I just kinda know I'm gonna flush it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Maybe I should
cool,
I'll write
thanks,
that down. Yeah,
helpful,
that's helpful. Thanks,
helpful.
man." Good.
Yeah, no, it became clear after that point though. It was like, all right, my job is not to be good at golf. Like that's not that helpful to all of us. We're not gonna we learned quickly that that video series was gonna be sweet, but it also was like, nah, that wasn't our best idea. Like it wasn't our most efficient idea. And post COVID, our business changed a lot into much more podcast based. Video was a lot less off the cuff, and it was just became clear like it just the hours needed to be put in to justify it, but it just didn't make sense anymore. So the practice time dipped, and I don't have a regret there other than like I was doing so good at just like experiencing golf courses and experiencing being outdoors and appreciating nature and being in touch with the game. It's like now getting back into competitive. I almost regret it a little bit. I wish I never got expectations back into my golf scores in my game. I
Yeah.
do enjoy the pursuit of a well played round of golf and finishing out a round that is really solid. And I've done better in recent years of like you just can't let a bad round affect your day in any way. Because I would walk off courses miserable in 2020 and 2021 if I played bad because it was like, wow, I did all this work and I suck again. Like, what the hell's the purpose of this? But now I am better. I still get a ton of highs out of the good rounds, but like if I shoot 80, which I do quite frequently, like I can't wear it. Like there's just no you can't not do that to yourself.
There's
But I
not a
will
lot of
also
not a lot of
say
people who are gonna commiserate with you on that one,
totally
is one of
100%.
the big light bulbs, when you come home, it's just like, "What? Oh my god, what's wrong?
Well,
I shot 86. Oh
exactly.
my god, hold on. Let's call your parents.
Whoa, dude. Oh my
Let's get
god.
everybody into town
So
here so we
sorry.
can all just kinda build you back up." It's like, "Ah, yeah, maybe we just move on."
I will say this though, that little mini bit of tournament experience and it's such a comically low level of like Florida Winter Series events and not even like the highest state level stuff. It honestly taught me so much about pro golf. You can laugh at that if you want, but like what like high level tournament, I would say more dumb things about pro golf and shots people hit and things like that than I do now because having experienced, like a very simulated version, a reminder of like what it was like. High school golf was and competitive golf was 20 years ago, more than that away from me. Truly forgotten all about it, like about the balance and the nerves of trying to compete in that. And
I also to that note, we talked about this with Tron too, in that, like, nobody ever taught me, and I never took the time to learn, but, like, nobody ever taught me how to play golf. I know that sounds
yeah,
stupid, like, people taught me how to swing the club, and they taught me how to, here's how you hit a draw, here's how you hit a fade, here's how you chip, here's yada, 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 but nobody ever taught me the things we talked about in the first 15 minutes, right? Of, like, don't aim at the flag every single time. Here's
right.
why you wanna hit this club off the tee instead of this club. Here's why you wanna hit this chip shot instead of this chip shot, yada, 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 which I think speaks to the stuff that you're talking about, which is like, yeah, when I look back on, my quote unquote competitive golf in high school was just like, all right, man, just try to hit the fairway and then try to hold the next shot on every hole. And, hopefully we do it. I don't know. We'll see. And we'll just kind of let the chips fall where they may. Where it's like, yeah, when you're trying to base a firm, fast, windy US Open performance, like you're trying to view it through that lens is like a recipe for saying some very stupid shit is I
Yes.
think what you're getting at there.
Well, and it's also like as soon as you play in tournament conditions that are really windy with baked out greens, like, and you watch that ball do that little extra foot and a half roll away past the hole, you recognize that on television. And I go back to that feeling I had when I was playing in tournaments against much better players of how much that exposed me. So, it'd be one, I don't know if that would jump off the page as much to me of like now when I watch Valhalla, That does not happen. And I know that anything can happen in that tournament versus like a US Open where the conditions get real. It becomes like, hey, whoever is in the most control of their golf ball and is not making dumbass mistakes is going to win this thing. And like, this is going to separate the talent. It's just an easier, and that may sound obvious, but it's just an easier pull having just been in that spot in a simulated version a few years ago, a few months ago, whatever that might be. I've been the Scott Brown in a field of competitive golfers among the PGA Tour, and I've been, the guy that's expected to be one of the top three players in some of these really weaker fields. And like I don't know, experiencing those differences, hell, at least it gives a little bit of context and perspective when we talk about the highest level of the game. Am I aware of the gap between in the play of these? Yes, I do not need to be reminded of that every time I reference this. That somehow comes up. Like, could not be more aware of what the gap is. I've played with plenty of like the mini tour guys around Jacksonville and like seeing what their games are like and seeing how they're not anywhere near good enough to compete on even the lowest level of tours. So I'm aware of the gap.
I think that would be yeah, I wish I could kind of port that part of my brain into some other golf fans' brains. Like that's the thing that's hardest to explain, I think, to people is just like how many dudes there are. Just how many dudes you will
The
never
volume.
you will never ever even come close to hearing about that are the best player you've ever seen in your life that have no chance. And
I've,
like that's hard to explain to people.
I've told the story before, but I watched a guy shoot 61 in front of Jim Furyk, and that guy was unable to get status on PGA Tour Americas. Like
Yeah.
it's it really, but that's where course setup and tournament setup makes a massive, massive, massive difference. Like the very next week, I think Jim was probably top 20 at the Genesis, and it just people are built different, man. People are built different for different tournament conditions, and it's tournament golf we say it all the time, and I wish I had a better way of describing it. Just like it's just a completely different beast. And
W
I'm thankful to have experienced at least a little bit, just because it is like I think my level of play is like Pro Am Creator Classic is like the most fun I have. Like member guest level of competition is my peak level. Anything above that, like in seriousness in terms of signing cards, becomes panic, and like that's just not a fun way to live. It's
w
stressful.
this is a weird, comp or is gonna sound like I hope it doesn't sound like a backhanded compliment, but, like, we've talked about this on the pod before with someone like Joel Damon, with everything we just described, and how obvious it is that there are prerequisites to being a top level tour player and how much better the speed makes you and how much better all these things are like you have to do this. And you see someone like Joel who doesn't have a lot of those tools and you're just like, man, that guy must be so fucking good at just golf and just getting the ball in the hole. Like it just is I don't know. The older I get and the more I learn about the ecosystem and kind of how many guys are on the outside looking in, the more I just appreciate dudes like that who are able to still hang around and keep their card and threaten to win, and it's awesome. I got a couple quick hitters here, and then we're gonna get to our big finish. Okay, so kind of in the spirit of what we were talking about here, what's the most complete round of golf you've ever played?
Probably it's one of two rounds. Yeah, I'll drop them both probably here. It would be April, I believe 22nd, almost the anniversary of this, 2020. I almost like still feel sheepish like saying it because it doesn't feel real. It's so much lower than anything I've ever done before that it just still doesn't feel like a real thing. I shot a 60, like a real 64 at Timuquana, 8 under par. And I don't remember what hole I've shot 31 on the front, and I had shot 31 on the front before, maybe a few months before, maybe longer than that. And I remember I went and turned around, shot 41 on the back, and I got in the car and was just like despondent. Like I can't, I that feeling from high school of like anytime you got something good going, you just gagged it. Like your club feels different in your hands, reacted horribly. And I remember walking off the ninth green that day. I saw one of our buddies on the putting green. I just was walking to the 10th tee, didn't tell me anything. I was like, hey, I'm going to go get you 3 more. He had no idea what I was talking about, but I was just like trying to get in this mindset of like, I'm going to go shoot under on the back nine. I'm instead of trying to protect the 5 under, we're going to do that. And made a couple birdies on the back. I'm making all these putts, and I get to 16T, and I run into some buddies of mine. They knew I'd been playing well, and they were just kind of joking. They're like, "Oh, how many under are you today?" And like I said it out loud. I was like, 8. and like my voice cracked in it. And as soon as I'd said it out loud, I was like, I put all this pressure on myself. And they were like, they thought I was joking on there, but I honestly was 8 under par with 3 holes to play. I think I missed 16 and 17 green, had to scramble because I was starting to gag. And I missed about a 25-foot birdie putt on 18 to shoot 63. And I walked off and was like, I just shot a fucking 64. Like, I honestly, breaking 70 is an unbelievable round of golf, and I had shot a 64. Followed it the next day with a hard and true 80. Very much. I went 64, 80 in back-to-back days. But honestly, that was the peak. That day was peak. I never was the same after that. There was a round that later that September that I played. I was getting ready to do a podcast ahead of the 2020 U.S. Open, which was in the fall, with Jim Furyk, who won at Winged Foot. The episode, or the U.S. Open was going to be at Winged Foot, or he won at Olympia
Olympia
Fields. He
Field.
almost won at Winged Foot. He was one shot of that playoff, I think. That didn't happen. And he was like, "Okay, we'll do it at the club." And then at the last minute, he was like, "Well, why don't we play beforehand?" I was like, "Let's get a foursome together." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And we go out and we're playing, but like my mind is on the podcast. And usually, you know me, I can tell you where I am in relation to par at any moment of my round. And we like honestly got to like 18 T before I was like, I have a good round going on. I looked at the card and looked down at it. I'm like doing the math. This was back tees. So the 64 was from the blue tees. It was from one ups. But back tees, my best ever round at Timuquana was 69. And I'm quickly doing the tally on the card, and I'm like, have I only circled the birdies today? Did I not square my bogeys at all today? I'm like, oh my God, I haven't made a bogey today. I got one. Okay, I'm 200. Oh, I'm three. Oh, I've got three, four. Am I 5 under right now? Like, I honestly, my mind was so much on the podcast and get ready to do that. The anxiousness that comes with the technology and all of this is just, you've been there on like video shoots, like you're just not focused on your golf. Usually that works in the opposite direction. And I'm quickly doing like, now I'm looking at Jim's card and I'm like, oh, he had a couple bogeys in there. Do I have him?
Am I about
Oh,
to beat this guy's ass?
he's 5 under as well. Okay. Drive down the fairway and he hits his iron in. He hits it like 20 feet on 18. And I'm like, dude, doors open. I step up and hit a wedge to like 5 feet. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to fucking beat Jim Furyk today. Jim rolls up. He drains the 20-footer in the middle of the hole. It's just couldn't have been more in. And now I've got this 5.5-footer, 6-footer, whatever it is. Looks a lot longer now. It's outside the hole. And now I'm anxious. I'm totally nervous. When a few minutes ago, I didn't even know it was on the line. Hit a god awful putt that like must have had just the counteracting forces going one way. I pushed stroke with a closed face or something, and it like fell in on the low side and didn't deserve to. And that was a 66. I've still never gotten within 3 of that round. Shot 6 under from the back tees, didn't make a bogey, and that I don't think that's ever coming back ever again.
Gosh. All right. Well, actually, before we go, I think the 64 is what sparked the famous internal "Let's go get 3 more" meme, isn't it? I believe
It must be.
I feel like we've told that story before, but if we haven't, one of my favorite stories of all time. We were talking about, I don't know if it was a mailbag question or something. This was like when Neil was like playing really really good golf as well, and kind of like had this rapid ascension, added a ton of ball speed. And I think it was a mailbag question. Somebody was like, "Whose top end is better, Solly's or Neil's?" And, I was like, "I think it's Soly," and Randy's like, "I think it's probably Soly," and Tron's like, "Oh, no, no, I think Neil's top end is like his potential is like it's 5 shots better than Soly's." And you, to your credit, would like you're kind of downplaying it, and not just being a little like, "All right, let's just talk through that for a second." So my low is 64. So that means Neil's potential, like he's gonna go shoot 59? Like, does he really strike you? I think we've got a lot of video evidence out there.
He's broken par
Does
once.
he strike you as the type of guy who's gonna get to, 8 under, 9 under, just be like, "Yo, let's go get 3 more, man. Let's just fucking keep the foot on the gas." And it's just so what I think about it once a week. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh so hard. But
That's one of those he's going to go down with too. Like, yeah, we'll see. I mean,
yeah,
we'll see.
exactly.
I,
No,
I
I'm
I said what I
saying
said.
top end. I'm saying
Yeah,
top end.
like
Uh,
potential.
exactly. Do you have a good answer to your favorite professional golfer of all time? I gotta think
Thought
we're in
about it a lot.
the Tiger, Rory, Spieth type of
Like,
camp.
I'm going to say no, just no Tiger division, because like that was the OG in terms of getting me into it. But like, I really honestly do think it's Spieth. If I looked back at like what it was like to follow him in 2015, 16, and 17, and like how I legitimately didn't miss the opening tee shot of wherever he was playing, whenever he was playing, is like probably a great sign of like what was my favorite golfer to follow.
Here, here. I was
I
talking about it with KVV. I don't get how it's not still, like, the only thing anybody ever talks about is kinda how it lives in my brain.
Yeah.
Just like, "Oh, this is the only guy, man. This is it." You know, listen, I know it's been, about a decade,
It's it's been
but
a
still, you
while.
you had to be there, man. You had to be there. A lot of you don't realize what it was like.
I'm not sure it's walking back through that door, but it would be like the most fun if it did. It would
Yeah.
be the absolute most fun.
What about least favorite professional golfer of all time?
I had to say Bubba.
Yeah.
Took the Masters aw I mean, people forget how bad Bubba was in this time period, like, skipping the long drive at the PGA Championship, saw the Arc Day whatever in France and hated it, truly did the worst possible thing, in every scenario while playing really good golf, which made him hateable, like, it took took the Masters away from Spieth, won 2 Masters. He was probably my least favorite, golfer. Like, the current version of Bubba, not as much, but, like, back in the day when he was really good, that guy sucked.
I remember, early story, and I truly listen, things happen. I don't, hold this against him. It's just kinda funny. US Open at Congressional was the first major I'd ever gone to. I was working for Golf Week magazine. It was like a Thursday. You know, I'm writing the sixth story of the day because Jeff Root and Jim McCabe and Brad Klein and all these other guys are there writing like the top stories. So they're basically just like, yeah, we'll pay for you to go and like I don't know, write about the amateurs or something like that for like a little sidebar. And for whatever reason, I convinced people I was like, I kind of want to follow Bubba for the day and just like see what it's like, see what fans are like. People really love this guy. I want to do a little overheard in the gallery sort of stuff, and I'll just write a little like piece of what it's like following Bubba at a major. And so I followed him for all 18 holes. Congressional, it's so sweaty and like just a pretty miserable experience. And then I think he like bogeyed the last hole. And I'm waiting for him in the clubhouse to come out. And I'm just like, all right. So, I'm like asking all the other journalists, I'm like, so I can just wait outside the locker room and then like I just grab him when he comes out. They're like, yep, just tell him who you are. And I'm sure he'll answer a couple questions. I was like, all right, great. And so I'm like, I had dedicated my whole day to this. I'm like, all right, I got a couple questions. I'm going to ask him to fill in the gaps. And I'm standing outside this locker room. He's waiting, 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 waiting. Doesn't come out, doesn't come out. I think I missed him. So I'm still like standing there waiting. Finally, just like barges out the door, still pissed about the finish or something. I don't know. And I'm just like, hey, Bubba, I'm such and such. Can I talk to you about it? He's like, nope. And he just bolts. I'm like, kind of half chasing him, half just like, oh, wow. Just like, man, that was just like 8 hours of I just down the tubes. Like, fuck, man. Like and that was the first time I think I realized, like, "Oh, wow, like, that can happen, huh?" Like,
Yeah.
I gotta pick my spots here, man. This is a little tougher than I thought it was. Anyways, that's what I always think about with Bubba. Um, this is much more of a Neil question, but it's one I always like to ask. If your golf game was a car, what kinda car would it be?
It's like a Volkswagen Atlas. It's got a lot of
Those are
good
nice.
features.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are
it's
like the
nice.
big
A lot of
SUVs,
good
right?
features.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not premium. It's not special. You're not special, man. Like, I've tried to convince myself I am. I'm not special.
But it's just
I
a lot
honest
of families would love to have one of those.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a
totally nice
great
to have.
great
Yeah.
car, yeah.
It's got all the storage you could possibly need. You can fit everyone in there.
Looks good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice looking car. Yeah. Just not premium, not special.
No one's growing up
Um,
dreaming to have one, I suppose.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not a swing you're dying to have. It doesn't look sexy. I've caught myself from like saying it anymore. Maybe I have said it in the past. It was just like, man, if everything is dialed in perfect, and if you give me all the time in the world to practice and play a shitload of golf, like, dude, I'm really good. Like, listen to yourself. Who would not be good with all of those things lined up perfectly?
Reminds me of one of my favorite golf comments ever from, my good friend Big Play Ray. Used to say something very similar. He's like, "Yeah, I mean, I would be a tour player." He would dead straight face. He would say this every time. Yeah, like, I would be a tour player. The only thing that's holding me back is unlimited range access. Like, if I had unlimited range access, like, of course I could figure it out. I was like, "No, I don't think you could, man.
Not how
Like,
it
no
works.
way." You sometimes switch between stack and tilt and regular swing, like, on the same round. Like, I don't think I think more range balls would be a huge detriment to you, man. And it's just unlimited range access. That phrase is always stuck in my head is one of the funniest things I've ever heard, especially going back to the, 61 in front of Jim Furyk sort of, first story. Alright, last thing. If you could ask a genie one thing for your golf game, what's the biggest request? What's top of the list right now?
I don't know if this is within the spirit of the question, but if when I do find the
A
feel,
wish for a thousand wishes.
like, actually have it get ingrained, and not have to be something that you have to remind yourself
Mm.
on the next day, and, you know, the feeling of I whenever I got a really good day of golf going, I always wanna play, like, an E9, and I don't wanna go to sleep because I don't want that feeling to go away, and it always goes away the next day, and I wish I could describe it, but, that actual feel, whatever it is, of the club traveling through the zone. I'm not saying you gotta hit it perfect every day, but just, like, whatever that feel is. I just wish it could actually be ingrained and become second nature to me, even with some time. It's such it's unrealistic. That's why it's a genie.
Sure.
This is actually feeling better the more I sound it out.
Well,
But like,
I would point you back to the podcast you did with your favorite golfer of all time, Jordan Spieth, talking about all the different swing feels he's had, and as just a
totally.
illustration of how fleeting these things maybe can be. I don't know that anybody's gone through their whole career of just like, yeah, no, I have one feel, and I dialed it in, and I'm solved. Which is fascinating. It's like the best thing about golf. The worst thing about
It's
golf, of course, but it's also kind of the best.
with as much golf as I've played and lessons I've taken and resources I have at my fingertips. I do feel like my 30th percentile golf should be a lot better. And maybe that doesn't really matter, but I should not threaten the 80s as often as I do. Like I do feel that. And I've just my game off the tee has deteriorated so much over the years. Yeah, maybe that's just maybe the genie wish. It's just like I wish I could just find the fairway. That sounds counterintuitive to like the stack stuff I'm doing, but it's actually not. Like I'm working back towards like the feeling of not feeling like I need to mash everything and feeling like I just can cruise down fairways is what I hope to get back to.
All right, big finish. We've done this with all the episodes. It's the most talked about part of these episodes. Tron lost sleep. I'm on group text with him with members of clubs that he said was his favorite place in the world that he didn't even make his top 10. It's just so I'm going to put you in the blender here. Top 10 favorite golf courses of all time on planet Earth. Let's do it. Starting with number 10.
Yeah, I hate the list already. So I'm going to put any top 10 favorite list has to have this course on it in some way, and I'll work back on it. And that's West Lancashire in
Awesome.
Northwest England.
Did not
It
see that
is,
coming. That's
yeah,
great.
it is ranked as the 35th best course in England or something like that. So how's it a top 10 of my favorites? It's just in that category of place I didn't know existed, and talk about like having your eyes opened to a level of golf and a style of golf that the fact that I didn't know it existed becomes such a positive of you can uncover these gems that people don't talk about are equally amazing and as fun as number 9 on this list. I've played it 3 or 4 times now, and every time I go back, I'm like, all right, I've probably overbuilt this up too much. I'm like, no, it's even better than I remember. Like it has so many fun shots that are like define links golf for me of like I think about the approach into the second hole, which is a par five. Like these guys, it's got one or two, I forget, of these bunkers that just a pot bunker that frames that entry shot. And you undoubtedly have to shape a shot in some way with wind around that bunker to get there. Like anytime you're aiming away from the flag and trying to use contours and elements to bring the ball back to it is like when golf is at its best for me. And you just do that on repeat on this golf course. It's got so many little nooks and crannies and angles of it shifting and the shapes of the greens and the shapes of the bunkers leading up into it. I just freaking love that golf course, and I think about it all the time. And it is representative of an entire class of course that like I just spend so much time thinking about. I put County Sligo in that category as well of just like, dude, that sixth hole, I think about that one all the freaking time. That place freaking ruled. Siloth on Solway goes in this category of this weird random place. Dukes is in this category as well of just these amazing golf courses that specifically aren't at the top of lists that I've had such a great time, and it's quite legitimately defined my pursuit of golf. I think of just I don't know the enjoyment I've gotten out of playing a mid-tier level links course. Kilspindie I'd almost put on
Yeah.
this list as well of just I wish I could tell you why I think about this place so much, but I do, and that's that one.
I love it. All right, number 9.
Lahinch, Western Ireland. I really felt like I needed some Ireland representation on this list, and that place sticks out to me. That front nine is just incredible. You just keep working backwards of like, that six hole is awesome. Well, of course, the fifth hole is awesome. Four, I mean, that one's really sweet. Three, though, I mean, that one's pretty darn cool too. And some great holes in that back nine. It's not a perfect golf course, but that town, the way it sits there, that's a magical place, and I have many, many great memories there. 8 is a new addition to the list.
Mm,
Not new that I've played, but I just maybe have underrepresented this one over the years, and that is the old course at Sunningdale.
mm. God, this place was
Just
on just during the Curtis Cup. It just like I have never been there, but it just exploded my brain that I had never been here. Watching it on TV, I'm like, this looks like the coolest place on planet Earth.
Heathland Golf might be my favorite of all of it. It's got all the elements of links golf without like just being near the sea, and it's got a little more undulation, a little bit more exploratory nature, kind of a forest feel to it. But they have so much width on these golf courses that it's still just it's an awesome playground. It is a magical, magical golf course. Unbelievable facility. The new course is also incredible there. I just haven't played that one nearly as recent as I've played the old. And I mean, I haven't been to this place in 5.5 years, I think, but it is just an awesome freaking golf experience. And I don't think I've played 10 better ones than that one.
I love it.
7, I have Bandon Dunes. The OG Bandon, again, needed a Bandon representation here, and that's easily my favorite of it. I don't care what Doak says about it. I don't care what anybody says about it. Definitely don't care what Pooch says about it. I think it's easily the best course at Bandon. It is the hardest one to unlock, requires the most thinking and the most strategy, and the one that changes the most with different winds and different conditions. I take that back. Pacific changes the most with that north wind because it becomes unplayable and legitimately flawed. But Bandon is just it's my favorite. That fourth hole, that reveal, the way it worked, like the 12th hole and the way 13, 14, 15, 16 all flow, getting away back to the ocean, coming back to it. 17 sick, overhanging the ravine. Even those inland holes just are better than people give them credit for. I think it's the best course at Bandon and my favorite.
Number 6?
You're not going to fight this one. North Berwick in
Hell yeah.
Scotland. Speaking of 9 holes, it really starts with the ninth hole. Like the front nine can be a little underwhelming, but 9 is awesome. And it flows into one of the great back nines, great 9 holes in all of golf. Another one of those places that every time you go back, it just gets a little bit better every single time. And it's maybe even underrated at 6.
Yeah, also one of those that, like, has just gotten so much, pub on social media or wherever over the last decade that you almost kinda have this inkling to be like, "I don't know, is it kinda, like,
Overrated. Yeah,
overrated?" And, like, no, it's not, dude.
it's not.
It's not.
Listen, challenge flag on TC saying he'd split 5 rounds between here and Dunbar. And I've never been to Dunbar, and I really want to play it. There's no chance this is a 5 and 5.
I
Might be
don't
one of
know.
those Visbys in my top 5.
It might be. I need to I do him and KVV both have said some pretty powerful things about Dunbar. I
which,
need to go see
which
it
is
next time I'm there.
it has felt too much of a slight to North Berwick. Anyways, that's a different topic. Number 5 is Pinehurst number 2. Got to play there again in March. And like honestly, if I hadn't gotten to play there in March, it might have just over time eroded off the list, and that would have been unjust. Like it's freaking awesome. It's awesome that that place is accessible, and getting to experience it with a bunch of people that were playing it for the first time. Like my spoiled ass can tend to just be like it's really hard to walk off courses like being stunned, being in awe anymore when you're as lucky as we are, which is eh, so like getting to experience it and like seeing the faces and seeing the reaction of like being in awe of it, seeing it for the first time, like reminded me of how special that golf course is. And
It's, like, perfect. It's, like, perfect golf course.
yes,
It's like when
I'd
people
say
talk
that.
about perfect albums, perfect movies, I'm like, no, that's Pinehurst number 2. Like, it's just not there's not one thing I would change about anything. It's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. If you're nitpicking, like maybe like 10, 11 is a little weak-ish stretch.
Sure.
Like that's
11's
nitpicking,
sick. I
honestly.
think 11's awesome.
That's
But
fine.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's tough. Number 4, I have Tara Eady.
interesting.
Just
It's dropping down the rankings. I believe
well,
a former number 1 holder, I believe, that former title belt holder.
this top 4 is its own tier,
Okay.
right? it's hard for me to like we suss out among these top four. But again, that might have been erosion of I haven't been there in 7 years. I've only been there once and played it once, and it rocked my faces, multiple faces off. But I have to have it there because I had to put the Royal Melbourne Composite above it because hadn't played it for the first time in 2023, and it's like the best
Again,
capital G golf
perfect
course.
golf course. Yeah.
Yeah. And the two that I have above it are great, or I have above it for reasons that will become very clear when we get to them. But like I would say Royal Melbourne Composite's the best golf course I've ever played and how it uses the land and I have more appreciation for this one having watched 7 days of tournament play out there, like 7 days of practice round and tournament play, and just walking the grounds multiple times, seeing how the top player, some of the top amateurs in the world play the golf course and seeing it under competition lens and then playing it was like a different, just gave me a different level of appreciation for the routing and what the effects the ground has on how you play it, the requirements of the shots. If the wind is coming off the right and the pin is on the right, you have to cut it. You have to, or you will be 60 feet away. Like, and that just doesn't, you just don't experience that at many golf courses in the US.
Yeah. All right, number 2. I'm trying to I have my guesses, but I'm trying to
What
decide.
would your
I
guess
obviously
be?
know what one of them. What was that?
Yep. Yeah. What would your guess be?
Old Course is obviously on there, and then I'm trying to I don't know. I mean, I don't think you're going Pine Valley. I'm wondering if you're maybe going Heartstring Pole. You know, you spoke so highly of this Riviera earlier. Maybe you're going with like really leaning on
No,
favorite rather than best. I don't know. Go ahead.
it's so obvious when like you're overthinking it. Like it's so obvious.
Is it Old Course, New Course
No, old course is number one. We'll get there, but like
in the states or not in the states?
in the States, it's so obvious.
Really?
What would the what course would you like want to play probably more than anyone in the world?
Oh, well, actually, I don't know. So,
Like
Cyprus?
one of the hardest courses to get on in the world.
Oh, God, I totally forgot. Augusta.
I
Okay, of course. That didn't even compute
I've
as, like, a course that
I know.
people play. Yeah.
I've said many times like I have 3 favorite courses and I do forget. I'm like I do forgot I got to play Augusta. Um I mean, yeah,
So wait, which
was
one's number 2?
Augusta's number
Okay.
2. It was better playing it than I thought it was going to be even. I talked about this after we played it, but it over time my desire to play it had weirdly eroded, or I don't know, just not, it felt too far fetched, or my preference for link style courses and a different style of play had made it up in my head that I wouldn't want to play it that much, and it was and yet you're just adding this layer of context of watching the Masters there for that many years, and just there's no separate, like it's not that much better than other courses on this list taking the Masters away, but we just have all this different context on it that it
Totally.
becomes like the most one of the most special walks you can ever have in your life, and it deserved a place high up on the list.
Of course. Which brings
And
us to number 1. I think a
number
lot of
one, the
a
old
lot of
course.
a lot of bet slips probably would've cashed here with this one.
Sure. Obvious, not trying to be controversial with it, but like it was not a take I had the first time, 2 times I played it. I've told the story often of my caddy Brett Murray, who took me around the third time I played it. Like light bulb going off in many, like that was like where my golf life began. Like a second golf life began that day in July of 2017 of what just shepherding me around away from the bunkers, getting me the best angles into the pins, hitting the proper shots, like hitting away from certain pins at certain pins. It was just like watching the town get bigger, like just adding up all the factors that go into it. The St. Andrews Links Trust, what they do to protect the experience from being heavily bastardized and corporatized, and the amazing work they do to get as many people on that course as they can. The history, I mean, the history of the place is like hard to just throw that in as a sentence. Like this is where the game comes from, and the fact that the golf course is still that much fun to play, and that much fun to play in different conditions, and it's a place where I always like in a cheesy way like to say like it's a course where you can express yourself. Like it does not tell you how to play it. You can
Yeah,
do so many different things. Like it's a skate park. It's an adventure. Like you can. There's many, many different ways to make a bogey on a lot of those holes, and there's many different ways to make a birdie as well, and it just never ceases to become an absolute thrill ride. And I just have more appreciation for it every time we go and every time we see it. And I'm so thankful that a place like that exists in the game of golf, because the old shit really just, I don't know. The fact that it dates back to King James and stuff like that is just kind of legitimately hard to comprehend. And I'm very thankful for what golf has given me in my life. And it all like stems back to that place. And you can go visit it and you can play it. And the golf course is that fun. And the town is that fun. And it becomes like the most fun place to talk about with other people. And you can go into the pubs and talk about it with other people. And people can spend their summers there playing it 40 times. And it's just like the truly the one of the warmest places in all of golf. And it's my favorite.
Well, no better place to wrap than there. I don't think. That's a great list. I wouldn't, you said you hate that list. There's
Felt
nothing to hate about
well, I
that
felt
list.
bad about Karn didn't make it,
Sure. It's only I mean, there's only
which
10.
felt wrong. Dornick didn't make it. Brora didn't make it somehow.
No, it's interesting that I didn't realize you hated all those places, but now we
There
know.
was it was not hard for me to leave off Pine Valley, Shinnecock, Cypress, some of like the top 10 courses, just because I just, as amazing as those places are, I wouldn't say favorite is what comes to mind. Like incredible experiences, have loved played them, would love to play again. Not overrated, just like it's just hard for like a such a highly rated course, honestly, to enter my favorite, just because
Yeah,
it comes with such expectations. I don't know if that makes sense at
sure.
all, but
Well, this was a delight. Thanks for the background, for all the stories, and then for a tidy good list there at the end. Solid. It's great talking golf with you as always.
well, thanks for letting me rant. And I have no idea if this was interesting or not, but I'm appreciative of this platform and this the whole endeavor that we're on to get to have these golf experiences and get to talk about them. Because without that, it would be it would not be the same relationship with the game of golf as well. So
Here, here. Well, we will catch everybody next time. Cheers.
crack on.